Paul loves me.
The little brother she never wanted.
That's right.
Exactly.
Welcome to another episode of amorephillyunion, podcast where we spread a talk about the Philly Union, the whole Philly Union, and nothing but the Philly Union with as few digressions as possible. We're your hosts. I'm Paul.
I'm C.
And I'm E. And I will literally take over the driving from Paul as Paul is on the road as we're recording this. So, Paul, I'm glad you could tune in. And thanks to all the scientists and engineers who came before us. They gave us this technology.
This is pretty wild to be able to do this. Seeing as how I drove past Foxborough Stadium about 5 hours ago. And now I'm back in Pennsylvania.
I know. We live in the future.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's just kind of address the elephant in the room real quick. I just want to mention the Kai Wagner suspension. He's suspended for 3 games. It's the findings of the MLS investigation for his use of a slur in the previous game against New England. So Kai will be out for 3 games. That included the second playoff game tonight. The Union were up in New England. Depending on how the rest of the games get played, he might be back. Well, as long as the Union keep winning, he could be back for MLS Cup. Yeah, so let's just jump in with the Help Us Help the U challenge. So, I don't know, fireworks, trumpets. Yay! We did it, you guys. We did it. Last week was an absolute huge week. Thank you to everybody for supporting us. It was our biggest week ever.
They like us. They really, really like us. At least enough to spread the word and download the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or heck, even if it was just one person, just constantly repeat downloading and playing with that one episode. Hey, I'll take it. I'm not too proud.
Yeah. But I think the numbers we were talking about before, you actually had downloads from Germany and from other places all around. So it's not, unless they were using a VPN to jump around the world to make it look like they were all over the place, it does look like we actually had a lot more people download that last episode.
And honestly, if people are using a VPN to download our podcast, I'm taking that as a port of pride. We had a bunch of downloads from Ireland and Germany, which is always fun to see. So we definitely cleared our goal. Last week was our biggest week ever. I think it was our biggest week ever. Definitely the last episode was our biggest download of all of our episodes. We racked in about, I think, exactly 70 downloads since last week. So a huge week. We did it. We're over the $1,000 download point. But speaking of dollars, so we will be making our donation to the Philadelphia Union Foundation. Just thanks. It was a lot of fun. It's just kind of organically popped up. And thanks for everyone for tuning in, listening. And I don't know. This is a fun one. So
absolutely.
It's nice that people are downloading it and listening to it. Hopefully they're enjoying it with whatever they've got going. You know, it's a little bit of I hope this for them is like sitting around with a couple of friends talking about the Union each week, because that's what I really like about doing this with you guys. Is it's a chance just to sit down and talk Union. Wherever we are, we get to spend an hour doing this and put it together, and hopefully that's kind of how people feel about it now. Yeah,
I mean, literally, Paul, you're in a car right now somewhere in New Jersey, right? And
Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're back in PA. Hey. Welcome back.
I'm passing on directly under the moon now. Sorry, before Washington, actually. Yeah,
we'll have to remember this, like for the off season when we got a little extra, when we,
you want to do some road material.
Just
podcasts.
Yeah, there we go. Take it on the road. It is to make a more Philly Union. And we'll have to think of a new goal for next season as well. I was
going to say we need a new challenge, so we'll put our thinking hats on for that one.
So thank you, everyone.
If we hit 5,000, I'll streak in a. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to sit there and just download every episode hundreds of times.
2 words: pitch invasion.
Yeah,
let's go. No, nobody wants to get banned.
Yeah.
So
No.
Cool. All right. Well, then, you know what? Let's just jump into the one game. We're kind of, I mean, one of the reasons why we're recording now is we just finished the game. The Union were up in New England for game 2 of the 3-game first round series. And yeah, the Union pulled out the win.
Now no other MLS team needs to go and play on that turf for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
You're welcome, MLS.
Yeah, it's just one of the.
No doubt that it's very high tech turf and it's as good as possible for the players to play on. But you always hear the stories about players refusing to play on turf, and especially in the cold. The temperature, I believe, at the start of the game was 38 degrees, and
Yikes.
I believe tomorrow is the first. They're expecting the first snow of the year, I believe, in New England.
Yeah, you called it, Paul.
Might not be the first though, but they are expecting snow tomorrow.
Yeah, you called it, right? About the games going so late into the season, like literal, Julian calendar season or whatever. And at the snow, and yeah, it was definitely looking cold. Although I got to say, and Christy, you pointed this out, Curtin was rocking the pop collar on his pea coat. So
the popped collar, the coat was on point. Honestly, don't like to be this kind of color commentator, but best outfit of the season.
Yeah, he was kind of,
as the young people say. So yeah, kudos to Curtin. Probably not his first priority by any means, but looking good on the sideline.
Yeah, he was definitely looking a bit of swagger and all business.
I would commend him. Like, he used to try. It seemed like for a while there he was trying to be kind of super professional coach on the sideline with the sort of the suit or at least the sports jacket and stuff, and it never really seemed him. And at some point he's like, I'm wearing sneakers, I'm wearing the comfortable clothes, I'm wearing what I want. And this definitely just seemed Jim today out there with the like you said, the pea coat and the pop collar. And, I think he's definitely settled in and found his look.
He looks good in anything. Like, he really wears clothes well, so really never looks sloppy or bad. But it was funny because you're right, Paul, that turn happened at the pandemic, much like many of us who
what do you mean pajamas aren't acceptable form of clothing? Out
leggings,
in public,
sweatpants, etc., yoga pants, whatever you had. But yeah, that was definitely when he made the turn to I'm going full athletic gear on the sidelines, and he really hasn't looked back unless it's been cold. And yeah, definitely silent tonight. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about the game here a little bit. Although I'm enjoying the discussion of the aesthetics of the game. But it was a bit of a chippy game. It was not a pretty game. And things seemed to get a little chippier. I guess kind of one of the first big notable things about this game was let's get right to it. The red card against K. So there was an incident where so the New England player K kind of stomped on Gazdag, and Paul, I know you've been driving, so I think you were just catching the audio, but we watched the replay, and as Christy and I we kind of put out, it's in the spectrum of red card. It's kind of like how red is that red card? And at first it was kind of like, I don't know, it didn't seem as blatant. So the foul was this: Gazdag and K kind of battled for the ball. Gazdag kind of fell down onto his back, and as K tried to go past him, he kind of basically stepped on Gazdag's torso, his stomach, essentially. And at first it seemed like, well, it was a little careless, it was a little whatever. But it did go to VAR, and after VAR, the ref ruled it a red card. But there was one good angle that they did replay where they slowed it down. And Chris, I want you to comment more about what the Weeby and the other commentators were saying. But yeah, it was definitely uncalled for, I thought, in that replay.
Yeah, I mean, their point was that K had enough momentum going that he could have either just hopped over essentially. That these are not their words, they're mine, but hopped over Gazdag or stepped around him, and that it was unnecessary, basically. I guess once again, heat of the moment kind of thing. Maybe it was he just was going and didn't stop. I don't know. It was, I think, to mix metaphors, as Eric and I said when we were talking about it before this, it was definitely in the red card strike zone, if you will.
The strike zone, yeah.
But it wasn't the reddest of red cards, but also you don't step on somebody's stomach cleats. Yeah. Like you just don't. So I wasn't mad about it, but
I mean,
so I'm not gonna... I was listening to it. I was streaming it from Hulu, the Fox Sports 1 feed, and they had Tony Meola on, and he was saying, these are extremely well-trained athletes. He could have avoided that. He has full control of his body. There's no reason that he needed to step on Gazdag at all, much less on the area of Gazdag that he did hit. Yeah, that was done, while not egregious, may not have been, the most heinous of steps. Right. It was on purpose. And, it was interesting because like the announcer was like, yeah, that should have been a red card.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was very little doubt. I think we were the ones who were a little bit like,
it's the self-loathing.
Well, and also let's be honest, just the angle, angle of the shot was a little hard to tell what was happening. So anyway, but it was a red card. It was, I've seen worse, but it was still a red card.
Yeah. And I'm not going to look that gift horse in the mouth, right?
Oh, never.
We get this red card and we're up a man.
Well, and it's not always a gift horse. It happened to be in this case, but as we've said, sometimes that just makes them fight harder. So
one of two things happen. Team starts playing worse, or they start playing better.
Right.
And it was right before halftime, so it's not like the Union had a chance to take advantage of it. Much time to take advantage of it in the first half. Yeah. Because it was late in the first half that happened. Yeah. I would also just wanted to point out that Blake was playing very well, and he had that save on a play that actually ended up being offside. But he was up for this game, and that's always good to see, because if your keeper is hot in the postseason, that you can ride that to a lot more success than you would think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think after in the second half, as we were watching, it was. Were the New England Revolution going to play better, or were they going to play worse, right? Without that 11th player, right? Or their 11th player. And so it wasn't obvious at first, because there was some back and forth where it's like, oh man, like, come on, Union, you're up a man. Like, you got to get this goal, because the closer we get to that 90-minute mark and we haven't scored yet, that's just going to be more towards New England's, advantage. And, but Paul, like you said, there were a couple shots in that second half. There was one, I don't know who took it from New England. It was a bullet, and Blake had to make a bit of an upward dive, I guess. I guess you would call that a jump, to just deflect the ball out. And Blake had his work cut out for him in this game, and he was definitely delivering. That clean sheet was not for lack of New England trying,
Definitely. I know Andrew Farrell got upfield a bunch, as he is wont to do. He had at least one or two shots. One of them, I think, got deflected by a defender, and one of them Blake had to save. Bo was continuing to be dangerous. I will say, once again, Carl's skill kind of disappeared in this game. I don't know if it was because Martinez just, marked him out of anything that was dangerous, or him and Bedoya working together. Yeah. Again, couldn't watch it. I was driving. They didn't, it's not like listening to hockey on the radio where they give you a play-by-play. Right. But he was mentioned a few times, but usually it sounded like he was getting the ball mostly in that back, not in the final third, except for a handful of times that he got it up in a dangerous spot. Yeah. On the whole, though, it seemed like the Union did a good job shutting down the Revolution attack. I think that they said that they had 2 shots on, the Revolution had 2 shots in the first half to the Union's 11, and it was just going to get worse for them in the second half, despite the fact that, like you said, sometimes team playing down a man will play better. They did get some shots. They did get some counterattacks. But it definitely felt like it was, when is the Union going to score? Not if the Union will score.
And Carlos, is it Gil or Gil? Forgive me for mispronouncing it, but he definitely things were getting chippy. You could tell that they, like we mentioned last week, were very sick of each other as teams, and got himself a card for his trouble. He got frustrated, and pushed down one of our players. And now it's escaping me who. So if you remember, please tell me.
Mbaizo.
Mbaizo, that's who it was. Thank you. Sorry, it just ran right out of my head. But he was clearly done with us as a team.
Real quick, in that instant, it looked like Mbaizo, they were chasing the ball down towards the Union end line, and Mbaizo kind of stepped in front of Gil in the ball and let the ball roll out of bounds. Then they started jawing at each other, and Gil pushed Mbaizo. And Gil's not the biggest of characters on the field, and seeing Mbaizo go down, grab his face like all soccer players do to embellish,
of course,
and the ref coming over and pulling out a yellow card. At first, because I was at a rest stop when this happened, I thought he was giving the yellow card to Mbaizo.
Me too.
It looked that way 100%.
Me too.
Yes.
I thought it was going to Mbaizo.
Yep.
And the thing is like, I was okay with that, because I really wish they would stop doing that, behaving that way. But then to find out that it actually went to Gil for the push also made a lot of sense. But, it was interesting to see that happen. I thought it was going to Mbaizo.
I mean, it was definitely sold pretty hard,
yes.
But at the same time, you don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, the push was a cardable offense. A defender embellishing is different than obviously a striker going into the other team's goal box and falling. Then you're trying to elicit a call that would benefit your team, to maybe get a goal and stuff. But yeah, I thought the same thing, Paul. I thought Mbaizo was going to be getting a yellow. Let's see what else.
Well, we haven't actually talked about the goal yet.
No.
Yeah, let's lead up to this goal here, right? So Orr comes out in the 67th minute. Donovan comes in. Our this is now our third most favorite Drexel Dragon. And then Torres comes in, who places
No. Well, yeah, he's second.
The joke is he's second. Yes.
Because I forgot that Jen went to Drexel as well. So Jen's one. Donovan's two.
And then Paul's three. Got it. Okay.
At least until Christy finds some other Drexel alum that put above me. Yes.
Yeah.
Paul loves me.
The little brother she never wanted.
That's right.
Exactly. So yes, Torres comes in for Martinez, and we'll talk about this after we talk about the game. But Martinez came out due to looks like some sort of injury. We're not sure. We're hopeful it's we'll see, but hopefully it's nothing too serious.
As Paul said, excessive caution. Substitution. Yeah.
So then we get to the goal, right? And so I thought it was interesting that it was I forget which player it was for New England, but basically kind of pulled Gazdag down to the ground outside the 18 box. Union get awarded a free kick, and it was McGlynn who took the free kick, and it was kind of a worm burner of a free kick. This kind of scramble of players in front of the New England net, and our second most favorite Drexel Dragon gets his foot to the ball and deflects it in to give the Union the 1-0 lead.
Woo!
Yeah, there was a brief moment where
doop. That was awesome.
Yeah, there was a brief moment where it went to VAR, or not VAR, but it was being reviewed to make sure nobody was offsides. Little stressful, but it ruled in our favor.
Right. Yeah, and I always have that brief moment too when it's an away goal, and you're like, wait, did that go in? Because nobody's celebrating. Oh yes, of course they're not celebrating. Of course they're not. And yeah. So also a very brief moment of wait, what? Followed by uh-oh, and then yay. Wait, what? Uh-oh, yay, amorephillyunion.
There you go. It's
the cameras did find those one or two Union fans in the stands waving their scarves around. But yeah, you're right. It was hard to tell based just solely on what was going on in the field, and but it was good. I mean, the team itself was celebrating on the field, but then you had to wait for the review to happen.
Yeah.
I guess they were just double checking to make sure that if Elliott or Bedoya were offside, that they didn't actually affect the play.
Yeah, there were a lot of folks in that in the mixer, as they say. So just making sure everything was above board. So go Drexel Dragons, as Eric has typed into our show notes.
Yeah, and that was kind of, we kind of wrote out the, well, we didn't exactly write it out, but the game kind of played out. It was a little bit of, back and forth, a little bit of some nervous making stuff, but the Union held on to that 1-0 win. The New England fans were definitely not happy when the ref blew the final whistle.
Oh, they were letting the ref know it over the audio of the game earlier.
Yeah.
It sounded like Torres did make a couple of spin moves or something like that at one point. So hopefully he's getting a little more confident, and hopefully that if they call on him later in the playoffs, and we'll see some of that return to form that he had been playing early in the season.
Yeah.
A brief asterisk and callback on Torres. If anybody listened to the episode where we did a little bit of trivia about the team, there is no way that Torres is taller than Carranza. There is no way. Carranza wasn't even on the field, and I can tell you that definitively. So we all suspected that the website was wrong. I don't know. I'm guessing Carranza lost a bet and Torres won one. I'm not sure what happened there. But yeah, there's absolutely no way. Dear Philadelphia Union, please edit your website, because it's wrong. Clearly wrong.
Yeah, let Paul into the locker room so he can measure everybody.
Yeah. Again, not creepy at all. Not creepy at all to be like, send it against the wall and here's the measuring tape. No, not creepy.
So the game ends 1-0. The Union sweep the series, 2 games, and now they have a nice long break to both rest up and forget how to play soccer before they go into the conference semifinal.
Because 3 weeks off between the first round and the second round is always going to give you really good, high quality soccer in that conference semifinal.
It's at the same time, I don't want the one end of the spectrum. We got teams playing 8 games, or was it 3 games in 8 days. That's just not a healthy pace. But at the same time, it's like we're playing 1 game every 3 weeks. Like, this is just
craziness.
I don't know. Yeah.
Look, I'll say this while we're being Negadelphia about things. After the last regular season game when they lost to New England, I turned to Eric and said, there is absolutely no way that we're beating them. There's no way that we're done. That's it. I admittedly was not fully aware of the 3-game format and all that kind of stuff at the time, but still didn't think it would make much difference. And I was wrong. So I don't know. Let's keep being negative, because maybe it will work in our favor and they'll remember how to play soccer.
Yeah.
And and maybe it'll obviously Glesnes is out. I mean, we can talk more about that, but maybe it'll give some people more chance to heal up and
it's actually a good segue. Place. I mean, I think we're done talking about this particular game, so we can certainly start talking about the injuries.
Right. Yeah, so let's so the Union are going to go on and face Cincinnati in the conference semifinals, and I don't know, maybe it's in a week or 2. But before we get there,
Red Bulls are out.
Tuning up my tiny little violin here.
Just for them.
So hopefully, with all this time off, the Union can hopefully address these injuries. So we got some injuries to talk about here. So not in this game, just not even on the bench at all. Well, Glesnes is still out, but it sounded like I think he's done for the season. I mean, hopefully I'm wrong. Carranza is out.
The announcers on Fox Soccer actually said that they talked with Curtin, and Curtin was he said very unlikely, but there's a chance that Glesnes could make it back depending on how far the Union went in the playoff run.
All right.
I wonder even if he were to get back, would he really be match fit for the semi-conference finals or the MLS Cup?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe as a bench player, maybe as an emergency sub if Lowe or Elliott needed to come off.
Yeah.
But I would agree. I doubt Glesnes is going to play again this season.
Yeah. Well, he does have the fishing season to think of. So there's that.
Yes, and Carranza's out with the hamstring. I don't know what
it sounds not too bad. I mean, at least the way they're framing it so far. So hopefully it's not.
Yeah. MLS has them listed as questionable. From the way the announcers were talking at the end of tonight's game, they were, nobody was ruling him out from returning at some point in the playoffs. I guess just a matter of, giving him enough time.
And I think it also depends on how much they need him. Like, going into tonight's game, they were like, hey, if we can hold it to 0-0 or, at least hold the shutout, then we give ourselves either a chance to win it or we'll take it to PKs. Yeah. And if not, then we'll play at home. And if we're playing at home, then we'll put Carranza in. And I would suspect that in the next round, Carranza will be back on the field.
Yep.
Because they're going to want him and Aura up top. And just get that triangle of death out there because they're going to need it against Cincinnati,
especially with Cincinnati. Yeah. I guess the other thing, and Martinez was subbed out, in tonight's game. Paul, like you said, hopefully out of an excess of caution, but just from the way he looked on the field, he was looks like he was holding his one hamstring. I don't know. I feel like he's had this. This has been like an ongoing nagging injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure if it was the same leg or not, or what the situation is. But I think this comes back to, once again, just the number of games that the Union have played and how much of Martinez has been in playing. You can't play that many games at this high of a level and not expect some breakdowns in muscle tissue and if they're not getting a chance to rest and recuperate. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that they can't play 55 games in a year, but that seems to be actually more than the human body can do at this level of activity. I don't know how basketball players can play whatever it is, 80 some odd games in the regular season plus playoffs, much less hockey teams.
Yeah.
Obviously baseball is 160 games, but those guys barely run. And that's not that. That's just the game doesn't call for it,
right?
And like you talking to. I remember watching the Kelsey documentary about Jason Kelsey, and he's 8 weeks into the season, and it looks like he's like 70 years old the way he's hobbling around the field around his house, because he gets beat up 60 plus plays a game. And it's different. It's a different level of exertion on the body, and hopefully this is something that the Union are going to look into. And if some of this prize money that they're winning from all these additional competitions can be used to bring in high quality, 26th and 27th position players, that would be great. So that Martinez doesn't have to beat himself up like this. And I don't know how Bedoya does it. I really don't understand how that man is he's just a genetic freak, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder what his like daily vitamin routine is. I need to start doing that.
It must be, he bathes in the blood of I don't know what, and
Well, before this goes too far afield, if Martinez does have some sort of muscle tendon thing, having had tendonitis myself this year, it's very hard to shake. Even we think it's gone, it comes back just by moving the wrong way or doing the wrong thing. So, so I'm not saying that's what he has, but those things can linger and linger and linger. And like you said, Paul, with this punishing schedule this year, it's not helping anything.
Yeah.
So the Union have, I don't know, anywhere between like 2 to 3 weeks. We'll get to that in a minute until the semifinal against Cincinnati. So hopefully this gives the team enough time to get their players as healed up as possible.
Yeah, it was good to see Bueno back on the field after his injury with, that kept him out of the Venezuela games a couple weeks back. So hopefully that means he's back to close to 100%.
Was his was he like he knocked his knee? Was that Bueno or was that Martinez? I can't remember.
No, Bueno was, it might have been a knee. I thought it was a hamstring too.
Yeah.
Either way, it's good to see him healing up. Hopefully that's a good sign for the rest of the playoffs for him, and hopefully this break, they're now done the rest of the first round of the playoffs because they don't have a third game, and then they're going to have the time off for the international window, and then they're going to the next round starts after Thanksgiving. So the next round, like you said, will be in Cincinnati, right?
Yep,
and I believe it's the semifinals, the conference semifinals, and the conference final. Then will be November 25th to December 3rd.
December 3rd, yeah.
So I mean, if I'm using my crystal ball, I assume that means that there's four conference semifinals. I assume they'll be played on the 25th and 26th. Depending on other scheduling constraints, they'll probably have one of the East and one of the West playing each day.
Yeah.
And then I would expect that the conference finals are either going to play on the same day, they're both going to play on the 3rd, or one will play on the 2nd and one will play on the 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And then then the MLS Cup is December, what was it?
9th. 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a Saturday?
Yes, I think so. You know what? Actually,
it is a Saturday.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. I was hoping that they would get a Saturday for that this year because it's best time to get the viewership.
Yeah. Also, put it on a channel that everyone can get, and not just necessarily Apple TV. But hey, that's a different hill to die on at another time.
I do wonder where that will be. I was surprised that tonight's game was on FS1. I was grateful because I knew I wasn't going to be able to listen to it if it was only on Apple Plus, because they won't let you stream that over cellular data. But Hulu will, so that's what I was grateful for.
Hey, thanks, Hulu.
Thank you, Hulu.
Remember that at Thanksgiving. Remember to say that you were grateful for that when you're around the table.
I'm grateful for Hulu. Hey, this episode is brought to you by Hulu.
That's not.
Stream all your favorite episodes of, gosh, I don't even know what's on Hulu. But anyway.
You started strong, and then went our sponsorship.
I did not
watch all of the international cricket games, especially the current ongoing World Cup of cricket right now on Hulu. And yes, you actually can watch cricket on Hulu. I've watched a lot of odd sports on Hulu. It's fun. Don't get me started on kabaddi.
Oh, Lord. Please, no cricket. It hurts my brain.
Okay. I guess just other little bits and bobs, or bits and bobs, right? Yeah. Yeah, the St. Louis Cinderella story came to an end. That was that was kind of,
the crystal slipper didn't fit.
It did not.
What's interesting now, though, because Kansas City did win the second game at home, the just talking about MLS Cup, all of the remaining Eastern Conference teams have higher seeds than all of the remaining Western Conference teams, except for Atlanta. So literally, the only way a Western Conference team will host MLS Cup is if it's all Atlanta.
Wow. That's crazy. So is that like a testament to, like, was the East what does that mean in terms of like just the teams and the different conferences? Was the Eastern Conference just a tougher conference this year compared to the West, or?
Well, the teams just did better overall over the course of the season, and earn more points. I think St. Louis was the third or fourth highest point team in the league. So the East had at least three teams above it, I believe. I believe Cincinnati, Orlando, and Columbus, I think, all ended up with more points than St. Louis did. So, but yeah, it's kind of sad to see it end for St. Louis. You know, the what was it? What was the name of the derby? The barbecue.
The barbecue.
Yes.
Yeah.
The barbecue.
This one went to Kansas City.
Yeah. Left a bitter taste for those St. Louisians.
Yes. St. Louvians, I like to call them.
Louvians, yeah.
But yeah, and shout out to our St. Louis
family,
friends, family, loved ones.
Yes.
But who were kind of destroyed after that final.
Yeah.
Or not final, but after the final, what ended up being the final game. Yeah.
What was the final score of that game?
Is it 2-0?
It wasn't as high scoring as the other game, but it was something like that. Yeah, I'd have to check, to be honest. But yeah, definitely. One of our friends said that he ended up just curled up in bed, staring for a while. So 2-1. Our man on the web says it was 2-1.
Our producer's telling us it was 2-1.
Yeah, producer. Yeah.
Well, at least St. Louis scored in both of their both of their postseason games. You know, yeah, it's sad to see this first season ended, but they gotta love the result that they did get, and it was a wildly successful first season. Not every, the only team that has come in and won MLS Cup in their inaugural season, I think, was Atlanta. And then whoever it was in 1996 when MLS formed. But hey, great first season. Great fan base. It sounds like it's a wonderful stadium to go to, and future is bright for them.
Yeah.
As long as they don't face the Union.
It does make it easier now in that respect with respect to the playoffs, right? Because if St. Louis, in that very small percent chance of this actually happening, if it came down to be a Philly Union and St. Louis City final, it would be pretty intense, but now when the Union make it to the final, we can there's no hesitation in cheering for Philadelphia.
That's right.
So well, good luck to St. Louis next season. I mean, the one I read the interview with their head coach, and next season they're going to have a target on their back. This season they didn't.
Nobody knew what to do.
Nobody expected them to get this far, and so they were always just assumed to kind of be the new guy, the underdog. And next season, they do not get that advantage. People will be going into St. Louis with. They've earned the respect of all the other teams, so much so that people are going to, they're going to take them very seriously.
It actually sounds remarkably similar to an interview that Curtin gave at the beginning of, I believe, this season.
Yes,
not that we were the, unknown quantity. We've been around, but I don't think anybody expected us to do as well as we did last season. And so, it's
well, we talked about it in the beginning of the podcast this year when we were first starting, about how it wasn't just that the Union may or may not have been playing up to the same level as they did last year. It was that the teams that they were playing against were playing them at a higher level.
Yeah,
right. They were coming at them hotter than they did last year, because they knew anytime they were facing the Union, they were facing the best in the East from the previous year. And similarly, everybody that's going in to face St. Louis next year will be facing what was the best of the West last year. And so any St. Louis fans out there that might be listening, expect your team to have some struggles early on as they get their footing and as they get used to the increased level of competition that they're going to face next year.
But that ultimately is just going to make them even that much better. So
which hopefully is what the Union are facing right now, and hopefully now that they've survived the season and this first round of the playoffs, the Union will be ready to close out the playoffs strong and get back, because no offense to Cincinnati, they're a great team, but the Union have been here before. This is our third year getting this far in the playoffs, or fourth year, getting to the conference semifinals, and the Union have made it past this a couple of times now, and St. Louis this is new to them. The season starts every round now. Each game is a one game and done. So do I think that the Union have better than a 50% chance of winning this next game? Probably not. I wouldn't necessarily put it that high, but I do think there's value in the experience that the Union have had in previous postseasons.
It's interesting, right? So as you're talking about, I'm thinking when the Union go up against Cincinnati in the semifinal, conference semifinal, I'm thinking if we get past Cincinnati, I'm going to feel really confident then going into the final. But I'm looking, past performance, that whole thing. When you look at the 3-game playoff series for Philadelphia, New England, as well as compared to Cincinnati and Red Bulls, we all have almost identical records. We won both of our games. We 2-game sweep. Cincinnati 2-game sweep. In terms of just goals scored, we won 2 games, scored 4, led up 1. Cincinnati scored 4 and led up 1. And that was against a lower ranked New York Red Bulls. Now, look, I'm just looking at 2 games, 2 data points, straight line, not an accurate, analysis. However, it's any given Sunday, that whole thing. And I think if the Union, if we can get past this Cincinnati game, that bodes well then for the final, because final, Columbus and Atlanta, they're going to the 3rd game. Orlando swept Nashville. So Orlando's they're looking pretty hot right now too, right?
They are.
They're ranked 2nd in the East. So that's also, again, that's take that seriously. But if we get past Cincinnati, I don't know. I think going into that conference final, again, anything can happen, but I think that'll bode well for us.
And we'll
Once
see.
again, what is the Hoosiers equivalent here? What is of whipping out the measuring tape and measuring the court? Soccer. Yep. Soccer pitches are not necessarily all the same size. We need to think of something else, but whatever it is, Curtin needs to do that against Cincinnati and say, look, you have as much a chance as anybody else. So,
that's
I think he has to take more of an Herb Brooks approach. On any we could play this game 10 times and they might beat us 9, but not today. or not tonight. Yeah, that from the Miracle on Ice.
There you go.
Yeah. That's but I do like our chances. The teams remaining are really good. That's not I'm not slating them. I'm not saying that they're not, but you put the Union up against any of them, and I think that on a one-off game, any of them can beat any of them. It's going to be it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. And I think that the Union have something that they still want to fight for. Despite the length of this season and how tired they undoubtedly are. I think that there's still plenty of fight, especially if this is Bedoya's last season, wearing the Union colors. He's certainly going to play. There's a quote at a local barbecue place here, because if you knew you couldn't play tomorrow, how hard would you play today? And I think that's kind of Bedoya's postseason.
Yep.
He's not sure what he's going to be doing next year. And, so damn it, he's going to go out strong now.
Yeah. I mean, last season, right, arguably was the Union's chance to bring home that MLS Cup. And we all know how bitter that final was. And I agree. Welshman. I think the way what's that?
Friggin' Welshman.
But just the way watching Bedoya play. He's playing with, I don't know, he's playing in an extra gear now. I mean, look, we definitely want the MLS Cup. We want the MLS Cup while Bedoya's still on the team. I mean, we want the MLS Cup while this team is still together. I mean, every year it's always that that Brownian motion of who do we get and who do we lose, and every year it's always like probably arguably our favorite team. And so you know what? Let's just get this cup, right?
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
But I like their chances. Let's stay positive about that. We might be negative about the format of the playoffs. I mean, I think it's stupid that it's going so late in the year and that they had this first round 3-game series. I get it. They want all the teams to be able to host a home game, but you know what? Hopefully they change their minds and realize that's a bad approach for playoffs.
Yeah.
And they fix that for next year. But I mean, as far as we might be negative about the format, I think we are all positive about the Union's chances. No, we're not looking past any of the teams. They're all good teams, but we're not afraid of them.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Hopefully the Union players aren't afraid of them.
Yeah.
No.
And I feel with this team, right, and we talked about this, I think even last week, the Union are not playing at their top form. So the good news is like, if we can play the way we know we can play, then we will be unstoppable. So it's like, hopefully this next game, more of that Philly Union team that we know they can be, emerges on the field. That's what I'm hopeful for. Right.
There is another gear there if they can find it. If we can play the rest of the postseason the way we played the first half of that game and that first game against New England, I don't think there's a team there that could stop them.
Yeah.
Now we've got almost 3 weeks to hype them up. So let's go.
Yeah.
Any other topics for tonight?
Yeah. Anything else? I'm kind of through my list here.
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, if you have anything you want to contribute to our conversation, we'd love to hear from you. You can find us on our website at amorephillyunion.com. Drop us an email at pod@amorephillyunion.com. Give us your thoughts on how the playoffs are going, what you'd like to see happen and hopefully all the way to the MLS Cup. You can follow us on Twitter at amorephillyu. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Threads at amorephillyunion. Our Spotify playlist is just getting longer and more eclectic. I'm curious to see what we'll be adding this week. But you can find us on Spotify at amorephillyunion. Hey, thanks for everyone for tuning in and downloading. Let's not stop at 1,000. Let's go for 5,000. I don't know. We'll figure something out for that. But anyway, keep downloading our podcast where you get yours. Google, Apple, Spotify, all those. Just keep on tuning in, downloading, subscribe, like, comment, spread the word. Paul, safe travels home.
Thank you.
How far do you have to go?
Thank you, everybody, for helping us reach our goal. It's a big deal, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a way when we make the donation, if we can, and if there's like a name in honor of, we'll put all the listeners of A More Philly Union. I don't know.
There you go. That would be cool.
It's a group effort. So, well, thanks everyone for listening and tuning in for another episode of A More Philly Union. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
And I'm Paul. Go
Union!
Injury report. Injury report. Sorry, that's from Aquanauts. I have kids.